Hey guys, it's Alec Torelli, and in this video I'm going to share with you the top 5 mistakes that poker players make and some simple ways you can avoid them. But first, if you're new to this channel, at Conscious Poker, our goal is to provide the best poker strategy and mindset content on the market. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're looking to become the best, most feared player in your game and crush the competition. For now though, let's jump right into the top 5 mistakes that poker players make. Number 5 is tilt. Tilting in poker means to make poor decisions because you're frustrated or losing. And tilt comes in many forms. Of course, the most common is simply playing bad cards in an attempt to get unstuck, but I'd also consider tilt to be doing anything that deviates from what you would normally do if you were winning. Staying at a game you shouldn't be in, or risking more money than you can afford to lose, for example. Tilt is the ruin of many players, and while one can write an entire book on overcoming tilt, a few things I've noticed that work well for me are the following. The first is daily meditation. This sounds crazy, but in meditating nearly every day for the past 2 years, I've noticed huge improvements in my mindset, presence, and overall happiness. The reason being that the purpose of meditation is to let go of thoughts in the past and focus all your energy on the present moment. And while I didn't start meditating by any means to reduce tilt at the poker table, it was a pleasant, unexpected consequence that's really helped me. To get started is simple and doesn't have to be anything fancy. As little as 10 minutes per day, you can get a session in. You can use the app Headspace or Waking Up by Sam Harris. If you want to try something specifically engineered for poker players, check out Primed Mind by Fedor Holtz at the link in the description below. Primed Mind isn't exactly meditating, but they have awesome content to help you stay focused, overcome tilt, and play your A game as often as possible. The second thing that has really helped me with tilt is to take notice of whenever I'm feeling frustrated and repeat something to myself about how I want to perform, how I want to think, how I want to feel. Before I make my next decision, I simply remind myself of my goal for my session, which I always recommend setting ahead of time when you're still rational. My intention for the session is usually something like, my goal is to play the next hand the best way possible. And if I notice myself getting frustrated at a loss, I'll repeat to myself, my goal is to play the next hand the best way possible. This simple mantra centers me and returns my focus to something which I can control, which is the merit of my decisions. It gives me something tangible to work on, which I know will ultimately help me recover from losses. I also like to remind myself of why I'm playing poker in the first place. Because I love this game, because I want to compete, because I want to be the best version of myself. And that winning is merely the result of doing my job correctly. And in time, if I keep making great decisions, the money will come. And it's in reconnecting to my purpose for playing that I feel a temporary relief of pain from losing and can focus on playing my best. Lastly, and perhaps most important, I find that simply being grateful to be so lucky to have the opportunity to play poker puts me in a positive headspace. Gratitude is really the antidote to feeling any negative emotions, so as much as possible, whenever things aren't going my way, I'll quickly count my blessings and think about all the great things I have in my life that don't involve poker. And I soon can't help but realize that no matter what happens to me at the poker table, that I've already won, because in the game of life, I've been dealt a winning hand, and I'm eternally grateful for that. If you want more on this subject and a great resource on how to overcome tilt and bad beats, check out our definitive guide that we put together for free at Conscious Poker on our blog, which I've also linked at the description below. The number 4 mistake that I see poker players making is playing when they're stuck and chasing losses. While this could be a result of tilt, it's worth mentioning separately because it costs so many otherwise would-be winning players to end up losers. The classic example is a player who will book a win when he's up 1 buy-in, but whenever they're losing, they end up staying at the table for 24 hours just to get unstuck. The result is they end up playing most of their hours while they're losing, tired, and frustrated, and then they wind up being losing players long term. It's sad to see because they may have great A games and innate poker talent, but they're logging most of their hours while they're on their C game and they end up losing. Fortunately, there's a simple way to combat this, which I found works really well for my clients and readers. The first thing you can do is set a preset stop loss ahead of time when you're rational and still making your best decisions. A stop loss is a preset amount that you can lose in a game before you will quit. And while stop losses vary from one individual to the next and depend on your game, personality, and bankroll, a great rule of thumb is 3 buy-ins. So if you're playing 2-5 and out and you buy in 500, you'll quit if you lose 1,500. And a great way to ensure that you adhere to this stop loss is only bring the amount of money you're willing to lose to the casino and leave any credit cards or debit cards at home. One other way that I've seen work well for some people that gives them a little extra incentive to stick to their self-made promise is to make a friendly bet with their peers that they won't go over their preset stop loss. The penalty for losing should be something embarrassing, something you really don't want to do, like washing your friend's car or cleaning their home. And if you really want to add incentive, you can promise to let them record it and post it on social. As Freud acutely observes, we run towards pleasure and run from pain, and the idea here is to leverage that to get you to condition your behavior. The pain of losing the bet, because of the bragging rights your friends will have, will be so great that it'll prevent you from going over your stop loss. The number 3 mistake poker players make is they play in games they can't afford or have poor bankroll management. You could be the best player in the world, but if you don't manage your money correctly, you will end up a loser. You see this all the time, especially in tournaments where people have a $5,000 bankroll and they hop in and buy in $1,000 in the tournament because they want to get rich quick. And while there is no one-size-fits-all strategy, and ultimately how you structure your bankroll should depend on your personal financial situation, you want to allow yourself to have at least 20 buy-ins to any live cash game you play at least 50 for online, and 40 buy-ins for any live tournament, and 100 for online. Keep in mind these are absolute bare minimums, and ideal would be to have double these numbers. You have to remember that poker is a marathon, not a sprint. Edges are small, which means variance is high, and the truth is that the variance lasts longer than most people think. If you want to win long-term at poker, you need to actually reach the long term, which means your bankroll needs to be able to withstand variance, bad beats, and the inevitable bad runs you will face along your poker journey. A mandatory practice you'll want to implement if you're serious about winning at poker is to structure your bankroll before you play your next sessions. This bankroll should be exclusive to poker, and ideally this will be discretionary money which you can afford to lose, not the money you use to pay bills or expenses. If you want to get your finance in order, you can download the worksheets that I use for free at alectorelli.com or at the link in the description below. This will help you better understand how much money you can realistically dedicate towards poker. Now, once you have that number, I physically set it aside. I actually recommend opening a separate bank account and running all your expenses and profits through there. To keep better records, you can use the app PokerIncome to track your wins and losses as well. Now, once you have your bankroll in place, the next step is to determine which size cash games and tournaments you can realistically afford to play using the guidelines we discussed in this video. If you like to play aggressive or deep stack poker, keep in mind that that will only increase your variance, meaning you'll need to have extra buy-ins to compensate for that, so plan accordingly. The number 2 mistake poker players make is they play strong hands one way and weak hands another. In poker lingo, this means their range is unbalanced, a term you may have heard thrown around at the poker table. Let me give you a prime example of when this happens in practice, and then I'll show you how to make sure that you aren't making this mistake yourself. Let's say you call a 3x raise from the big blind of 30 with 10-9 suited. Cash game tournament, doesn't really matter. The flop comes down 10-9-5 with a flush draw. You check, your opponent makes a continuation bet of 50, and you make it 150, and he calls. The turn comes an offsuit deuce, you bet 250 and he calls. The river comes a 4 of spades, completing the flop flush draw. Now you check. While checking here with this particular hand has merit, this is a situation where most people have very unbalanced ranges, meaning they play their strong hands one way and their weak hands another. By checking in this spot, they never have anything strong. Why? Because if they had a flush, they would have bet. So why is this a problem? Well, if you're playing against observant opponents or pros, they will quickly become aware of your betting patterns and be able to accurately deduce your most likely holdings in a situation like this, for example. In this situation, if I'm playing against a weaker opponent, like the one we described above, I'll know that because they checked the river, they never have a premium hand, like a flush. Because if they did, they would have bet. This will allow me to outplay them by simply betting big on the river to represent the flush myself and forcing them to fold. Of course, this is simplifying hand reading a bit, and if it's in a classic example of something that takes, a minute to learn and a lifetime to master, but the idea you want to grasp is if you want to make yourself more difficult to play against, then you need to have a balanced strategy, playing both your strong and weak hands in a similar way that keeps your opponents guessing. Mastering the art of doing this correctly is something that requires patience, hard work, and practice. And in short, you want to aim to look at every situation from a 30,000-foot view and ask yourself not just what's the best way to play your particular hand, but what is the best way to play all the possible hands that you can have. If you're looking to fast track your results and improve at hand reading, check out our membership program. You'll get access to a course called Hand Reading Foundation, which will help you master this crucial skill, as well as weekly strategy videos to help you improve your game. You'll also join a community of motivated players looking to reach that next level who interact through our members-only area on a daily basis. As a test, we've made our membership available for free for 14 days, so be sure to join while you can. Click the link below to learn more. And now, the number 1 mistake poker players make is by far playing too many hands. I even see pros who are guilty of this mistake as well. So what does it mean to play too many hands? Playing too many hands encompasses everything that falls under the umbrella of playing too loose. Chasing that gut shot with one card to come, calling that second barrel out of position against a tighter opponent with middle pair, just hoping to improve, or cold calling a bet and a raise with a draw. These are all examples of playing too many hands. And while we don't have time to cover every scenario in which players make this mistake, there is one situation which I'd like to focus on, which is by far the most common, and that is pre-flop. This is particularly true while one is out of position. Common plays like limping in from early position with small suited connectors is a common trap you want to avoid to ensure you're not playing too many hands. As a rule of thumb, if your hand is strong enough to play it, it should warrant a raise. Now you may be wondering, Alec, well, how do I know which hands to play in which positions? Well, fortunately, we at Conscious Poker have put together some pre-flop charts to show you just that, exactly which hands to play from every position, both for live and online poker, for 6-max, and full ring. But we also went a step further. We understand that your game is unique and poker is a complex game where you can't just apply a chart and hope to be the best player. That's why we've also included a guide to pre-flop play, which will help you maximize your profit by telling you how to adjust your pre-flop strategy based on the uniqueness of your particular game. You can download it for free at the link below, so be sure to check that out if you want to avoid the most common mistake that poker players make. I hope you enjoyed this video on the top 5 mistakes that poker players make. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you're always the first to know when more awesome content comes your way. Leave us a comment below with which point was your favorite, and I'll see you guys next time, and thanks for watching.